Good moto morning. Today in Kraken's garage, we're going to install the clip-ons and speedometer relocation kit on the Harley-Davidson Roadster. Let's get cracking. The speedometer relocation kit is part number 709000660, country of origin, China. And the actual clip-ons, these were bought used by a friend of the channel that found them for me and bought them for me, and I mailed them a check to of course, pay for them. So I can't tell you what country of origin these are. There's no markings on them. So let's get to it. We laid out all our parts to make sure we have everything and the tools needed for this job. I will show you a picture, and we're gonna throw some protection over the gas tank and the front fender. What we're trying to do is protect the paint from dropping tools, screws, things of that nature. Harley makes it. I'm sure other aftermarkets as well, but they make actual padded covers to slip over these items on your bike to protect your bike's finish. I'm too cheap to buy those, so I'm just using my soft towels. First, we're going to remove the mirrors that I have reversed upside down. I'll post the directions up on the screen, but the first thing they recommend is that you remove the main fuse so you don't have an incident where the bike starts while you're working on it. To be truthful, I'm not going to do that. I'm not worried about it. I have removed the key, okay, and just throw that up on the bench. That ends it. Plus you hit the kill switch, make sure that's in the off position. Done. Next, we're gonna remove the handlebar, but first we gotta remove the switch housings. Now, I'm not using my power ratchet on this one because these star heads or hex heads, I'm not sure what they're called, are notorious for rounding out. Now you have to be careful. There's some very tiny nylon washers that are in there, so make sure you get those. They're easy to fall out on the floor and be missing. And where they're housed is right up here. You can see kind of a pocket right there around the housing. It's hidden right up inside there. I'm not going to disconnect the cable yet. Might not have to. Let's pull the bars off and then pull the bars that way and see if we can slide this off. I think I'll be able to use these again, thankfully. Holds the wires to the bars. We're going to remove the bolts that hold the tank and slide the tank back ever so slightly to give me a little more room to ensure we don't damage the tank and the finish. Jesus. Next, we're going to move this triple tree clamp. I'm using a breaker bar on a lot of these because there's Loctite on all of it, and dang if she isn't tough to get off. Next, we're going to gently bump each side and kind of shimmy this triple tree up. We're going to use soft hitting hammers. One of these should do the trick. There's a cable clutch hanger that is attached with another hex head. This is a T25, I think. Okay, this tiny Torx head is giving me the business, so we're gonna throw some heat on it, see if we can get it to break loose. This is why I hate these Torx heads, because they round out so bloody often. Can't stand them. Okay, we got the top of the triple tree off, and next what we want to do is clean this areas where we're going to slide the clip-ons on. Make sure there's no debris, so when we slide it over, it's not scarring up that anodized black finish. Now you can see the Harley-Davidson bar and shield logo. You want that obviously horizontal. Added some blue Loctite to this bolt right here. And we're going to loosely hand tighten it, slide it over. You have your Harley logo that of course has to be in the correct position, and you have a hash mark right here. And I'll show you what that's for in just a minute. Now what's interesting here is you have the adjustability of this whole section of the fork tube to adjust it up or down, and of course they can swing out right or left. So you have a vast quantity of adjustment to make it work for you. Then this bar slides in, and see how you have hash lines right here? That's so you get the proper alignment, and you line up the center line right there. Some blue Loctite, and let's just finger tighten that. Okay, see how we can move it around? That's perfect. So when I get on the bike, I can kind of set them to where I think it'll be comfortable for me, and then I'll cinch them down permanently. Next, we're going to reinstall the triple clamp. We'll reinstall our bolts that held on the triple tree. We'll torque those to spec in a minute. We'll start to reinstall our controls. Again, finger tight. Okay, I didn't film installing the controls on the right-hand side of the clip-ons. It's just boring stuff. We're gonna try and salvage this grip, and I'm gonna use some brake cleaner to dissolve the glue. You can use carburetor cleaner, you can use Zippo lighter fluid. Get yourself a small screwdriver, jab it up underneath. A lot of people have really good luck using an air hose and blowing them off, sticking the nozzle up on there, and it has never ever worked for me. So this is what works for me. Once you get some of that fluid up in there, it dissolves that glue almost instantly, and then you can start to get a twist on it. And once it breaks free, we're good to go. Now we just got to clean out the interior. Any grip glue will work. I happen to have some old Honda grip glue laying around that I'm going to use. I'm going to liberally spread it around on the end of the clip-on. Get a rough idea of how much depth I need. You don't need to put a super amount, but it will squeegee off as you push it on. And we'll let that set up, good to go. Now before I install this on the left side of the clip-ons, we need to separate the idiot light gauge pod, and that takes a super tiny Torx bit. This is a T10. Truth be told, I can't stand these Torx bits. They mince up really easily, and there's such small increments in between each size that it's easy to get the wrong one and strip it out. Save all your hardware. And there's our idiot gauge. No worries there. We're going to detach this clip here real quick, and that frees up the speedometer, so now we can take this housing off because that's what we're going to replace. It's just a pressure fit the whole gauge unit out of the housing, and we're going to pop this one back in, but before we do that, I'm going to add some 303 rubber seal protector. It's not a must-have. Any rubber parts, eventually they're going to dry, crack, and peel. This stuff helps keep it supple. We'll slide this right back into the housing. Pay attention, make sure you keep it straight. Even if you don't get it in exactly straight, you can still rotate it once it's in. See what I'm saying? Now we're going to attach our idiot lights. Don't over tighten these because that's just plastic and she'll snap in a heartbeat. So try to be careful there. Okay, for our idiot lights, here's the double-sided tape, and the backside is the housings for the screws when we bolt it up from the backside to secure the LED lights to this. Be careful, this is fragile and it's plastic. It will not take a whole lot of abuse. And it can only go in one way because you have two guide poles right there. We have spacers here that the kit provided for the gauge relocation kit, and that replaces the amount that it was lifted for the handlebars. I removed these bolts that had a mega metric ass ton of Loctite on it. They were a grizzly bear to get off. Okay, we got her off the lift, and I have these loosened up. We're gonna get them adjusted to where I like them. That seems pretty good. Let's cinch her down and get her torqued to spec. Okay, fork stem pinch screws are 25 to 30 foot-pounds of torque. I'll put the values up on the screen. The four Torx heads that hold the clip on to the fork clamp get torqued to 108 to 120 pounds inch torque, 108 to 120 inch pounds. Okay, she's all done. The reversed mirrors aren't gonna work. You aren't gonna be able to see crap. So I think I have it loosely mounted right now to make sure it doesn't bang into anything. Bar end mirrors are in the near future. It's actually quite comfortable. Next thing will be rear sets when I get the money for it, and then I'll be in a fully tucked position. It should be a really fun ride for carving up some corners. This job is done. It was a hassle from beginning to end, and this is one of those jobs that just fought you every inch of the way. I'm happy to get it over and done with. Biggest challenge for me was having to remove this triple tree up here on the top, and I had the bike on the lift, so as a result, the front fork tube slipped down ever so slightly and exposed the bearings on the lower side of the stem. So when I went to put it back on, this was kind of offset, and I couldn't get the tube bolt to settle in properly and thread up through there. So after about 30 tries, I jacked it up a little further, then I got 2x4s and kicked them underneath the front wheel to give it just enough lift to get everything settled in and playing nicely in the same sandbox. So a giant pain in the ass there. Overall, I like it. The fit and finish, the kit was well thought out and good, minus one thing, all the wiring. You had clips and such to hold it on the stock OEM handlebar. This kit does not offer any advice there, so I'll go back and clean this up with some wire ties and get that settled in. Most of the kit was typical Harley, using the Torx head bolts, which I can't stand. The reason why I don't like Torx bolts is because even though you'll try a socket and it seems to fit, you could try the next size bigger and it does fit. So it gives you a false positive that the one you're about to use is the correct one, and when you do, it minces up all the biting edges of the bolt and becomes a hassle to get the bolt in or out. So very typical Harley. Eventually I'll replace them all with hex heads, hopefully blacked out screws for the entire engine. That's later on down the road, but we're getting there slowly but surely. A lot of people say, good God, my back hurts just looking at this. It's not that bad, and you'd be surprised, because actually I have back issues already, and by sitting this way, I'm putting all the force on my abdominal muscles, and the key is to not rest on the heels of your hands. Use your abdominal muscles, which I could greatly use anyway because of my cheeseburger roll. So those are my thoughts on the clip-ons. I'm happy to get them, even though Harley-Davidson discontinued them. I'm thrilled to death. It's starting to really get that cafe look that I'm looking for. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you want to see more in the future, just hit that subscribe button. Remember, folks, go riding. It's good for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.